welcome to the Seattle chapter Breakfast Club meeting. And just a few quick announcements before we get to our speakers today. We're having a little change with our format, and so any input from anyone would be great. We're probably going to be switching over to more of a social morning or a possible lunch, where we just meet starting like in September, make it more of a social thing. Because obviously, people are getting, CPAs are getting their CPE from other sources, from online, from classes and stuff. And one of the things that's hurt us is that people aren't using this to get CPE anymore. So we decided to try to make it a social thing where CPAs can get together, discuss business, what's going on in town, industry, and stuff like that. So if you want to leave comment, you can do that on our website, the WSCPA website. Just go to Seattle chapter, and you can leave comments there, or you can yell at me or Marie anytime you want.
Anytime.
We're here to be yelled at. And usually in the morning, it's better to yell at us, because then we might hear you. So that's kind of our big change we have, and so if anyone ideas, again, just let us know. Then our speaker, Jim.
Sometimes really good speakers draw a crowd in and of themselves.
Well, we can't have you speak 10 times a year. Yes?
I do use this for my art sources, my CPE, so I do all the time. I only come because I need it.
Because of the CPE?
Yes, good CPE and good speakers.
Well, thanks. We like that.
Thank you.
But but again, a lot of people, CPAs aren't using this to get CPE a lot. I mean, I used to use it a lot for it, but now I just like hanging out with CPAs, so I go for social reasons.
Yeah, right.
There's that, and then our speaker next month, again the third Tuesday, would be Craig Weeks, who does promotion for CPAs. And so he'll be doing a discussion on promoting yourself as a business and also as an employee working in an organization. Promote yourself to kind of move up along either with clients or in business, wherever the situation is. So it's kind of self-promotion thing. He's very good. He comes up here a lot. He does a blog. He'll do a lot of speaking on business firm promotion and advertising and that. So I highly recommend you come for that. And I think that's it for the main announcements.
All right.
Also, one thing to be worried about is I'm co-chair for the Seattle chapter here, and we'll co-chair, yeah.
Okay.
And you have to be careful. If you get an email that says to attend a director's meeting and you don't show up, you may become chairman. So if you get an email for a director's meeting for the Seattle chapter, I'd advise you to come. Just a little advice.
It's a private joke.
So I'm going to, about our presentations today, because Maria will be doing will do the introduction. I'll do a little thing on the presentation on who's doing it. We like to share everything here, just so that Maria knows that I'm a co-chair and not the chair. But our first presentation will be Bainbridge Graduate Institute and the Triple Bottom Line. The first 10 years will cover the nature of triple bottom line business, examples of triple bottom line success, and how Bainbridge Graduate Institute, BGI, expanded the traditional financial and managerial accounting topics to include economic, social, and environmental impacts within the organization. And the second presentation will be The Risk and Aware Leader Knows It's all in the balance. Successful leaders color outside the lines of being innovative, creative, and imaginative. Successful CPAs color inside the lines with appropriate checks and balances to ensure no one crosses the line. How do you work within this paradigm? Ron Reel, CPA, a thought leader, both in high road leadership and accounting, will answer that question for you. You will learn how to be risk-aware leader with risk, because risk management in today's dynamic business environment is about balance. As a CPA, you are required to manage risk-taking with strengthening governance. And so Maria will introduce our speakers today.
Okay. Our first speaker is Gifford Pinchot. Welcome.
Thank you.
Gifford has been an organic dairy farmer, a blacksmith, an author, an innovation consultant, a software CEO, an angel investor, and a school president. What else? That's exciting. He has published 3 books. In 2008, Executive Excellence named him number 32 of the top 100 leadership thinkers. In 2009, he was awarded the Olympus Lifetime Education Award, and in 2010, he and his wife Liba named Purpose Prize Fellows. Gifford graduated with honors from Harvard University in 1965 with an honors degree in economics, then completed his coursework for a PhD in neurophysiology at Johns Hopkins University. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Gifford Pinchot.
Thank you. I guess I'm clearly someone who can't keep a job. Today I'll talk a little bit about sustainability and why it's happening now, the business opportunity in the age of sustainability concerns, some implications for accounting which we'll weave in along the way, and then I will talk a little bit about the Cambridge Graduate Institute. So my first question for you is, what is unsustainability? Everybody's talking about sustainability. What is unsustainability? What would it mean? What would
What we're currently doing?
Yeah.
That's
Can't
probably
last forever.
what?
It can't last forever.
Right.
Use up all your resources.
Other thoughts? What's unsustainable about now, then, the way we're doing things now?
Well, if you look at trash, pretty soon we're going to run out of places to put trash.
That's true.
And its impact, its cost to maintain, just keeps growing.
It's true. We have friends who are Suquamish, and they built the dump on top of the water supply. So her daughter is born with all kinds of birth defects and so forth. So the way we handle trash can be pretty significant.
And it's unsustainable. We continue to do it, we're just going to do so much worse.
Other ideas?
We will run out of oil someday.
We will run
50
out of
years,
oil.
maybe 500.
Yeah, you don't have to run out of it for it to begin to be a problem that it's getting more expensive to produce. All right, well, I'll foster on a few ideas of my own on the subject. Here's various fish harvests, and you'll notice that what were big fish harvests trending down. Here's classical unsustainability is the harvest of a whole bunch of different fish that where the way we used to do it, you can build more and more boats, but if there are no fish to catch, it doesn't do much good. This is the old growth forest 8,000 years ago. Here they are today. Pick out a part of the world that you are particularly fond of, and let's see what it was like 8,000 years ago and what it's like today. Look what happens to Europe. All right, this is speaking of running out of oil. We don't run out of oil; it just continues on for a long time. But it appears that actually the largest production of oil so far in history was in 2006. So we may already passed the peak production of oil, or that may have been a consequence of may come up again. What is probably wrong in this graph is that probably natural gas is going to be bigger than we thought back in 2004. There's a bunch of melting glaciers, same picture in the 40s and now. Here's sea rise. And this is an interesting graph. These areas, which are red and yellow, are the areas of water stress in the world, where people are not getting enough water. And here, superimposed on that, is a map from the Naval War College of where we're going to be fighting wars in the future. And you'll notice that it has an eerie resemblance to where we're running out of water. So one of the concerns about sustainability is that as we begin to run out of resources, what human beings have seemed to do in the past is to begin fighting over what's left. And so how we maintain civility in the world going forward is a really important question. A Yale anthropologist studying the bones says that throughout most of history and prehistory, about 25% of males die in warfare. That number today is 3%. And there are just a few periods in history when you have low numbers like 3% as opposed to high numbers like 25%. Right after the invention of agriculture, there was enough for a while until the population increased. And so warfare died down for a period of time. Right after the Industrial Revolution, we became more productive. And again, we have had a period of a relative calm. But the question is, how long will that last, and how do we maintain it? And what do we do about it? One way is just to ignore it, and that will work. But there's other solutions as well. So if we are in an age where increasingly people are concerned about sustainability, what are the risks that we should be looking at? What kind of risks does that bring about for the various businesses which you're associated with?
Cost.
You could have very sudden increases in cost of some input, and we've seen that from time to time. That could really affect the viability of a business.
Funding cutbacks.
Say again?
Funding cutbacks.
Yeah. So the money could go to deal with some crisis, and
Well, in government, it just goes away
Yeah.
right now because we've gone to this situation where government, the perception of government's too big, so cut back, no more taxes, no more funding of these programs and the safety nets that public health provides. So we've lost 20% of our workforce in 2010.
we is who, by the way?
Kids at public health.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
There won't be a test.
Yeah.
So I think you run into things like government policy to start turning corn into fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden we're diverting all of our resources into growing corn for fuel and not for food. And then the price of corn goes sky high and people in Mexico can't buy food anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it also limits the diversity of the food supply because corn grows very well, unlike other crops, the way we currently farm.
Well, corn is an expensive crop from the point of view of fertilizer and so forth also. You had your hand up.
Political stability.
Yeah, absolutely. If the corn price goes up, then political stability can be a serious problem. One of the things that is interesting is that the first industry that really began to take climate change seriously was the insurance industry, because they began to see claims for weather-related events going up. And so if you want to get directors insurance, if you're a major corporation, you want to get directors insurance from Swiss Re or Munich Re, they won't do so. They won't issue it unless you have a sustainability plan for your corporation, because they believe that the greatest risk that they're facing is increasing weather-related claims. That's another possible risk. So, where are things going for our civilization? It's a kind of a big question.
Greater discrepancies between the haves and the have-nots.
Seem to be happening, greater discrepancy between haves and have-nots. That's true. What else is going on?
More concentration in the cities.
Urbanization is happening worldwide.
less community when you start adding the internet and communicating via the web instead of in person. It's like you lose that sense of community when you're dealing with small groups of people.
Definitely a changing community. Some people feel that they are experiencing community on the internet. I have friends who are gamers who claim that it's the most social place of all. But you wonder, right? They're also little Asperger's, so. All right. So then something to think about. Whenever there's a change, there's opportunity, right? Entrepreneurs thrive on changing environments. So what kind of businesses are likely to be thriving as we move forward?
Consultants.
Go for it.
It could well be. I've gotten too old to be a consultant, so
water is a scarce resource, and many of our other resources, timber, oil, etc., are privately owned, but water is still pretty much owned by everybody. There might be some change there, allocation systems necessary.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things that's going to happen is making a market in water in places where we use water free, because of the way water rights are. One group of people has to use more water than they really need in order to maintain their water right, and another group downstream is not getting anywhere. If you look at agriculture in the high desert, for example, they use 9 feet of water per year on the land. It's a lot of water, but water is we can do without oil, but we can't live without water. You had a question.
You say that there's companies that are either adapting to have products and services that fit the niche of a new created need, or those that are tapping into sentiments with existing products that are capitalizing on people's growing awareness.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true. All right. So a sustainable business, just so we are all on line here, is based on things we won't run out of. It doesn't just destroy the things we depend on. Deals with empowering people, leaves the world a better place for our grandchildren, and of course it makes money. So the trouble is, businesses often hear sustainability as a restraint. It's something that gets in the way of making money rather than something which adds to making money. And I want to look at it from the other point of view, which is that there is a real opportunity to make money that you wouldn't be making otherwise in sustainable business. And we talk about ecopreneuring as a way of doing that. Now, if we look back in history, there's been some interesting changes in our society. For a while, the really big place to make money was in the railroads. Then it was in the telephone industry. Then it was in the semiconductor industry. And so what comes next? That's something to pay attention to. And in general, it turns out that we're going to be adapting to a changing world and doing all sorts of things around sustainability, and there's going to be big business in this. There already is big business in this area, but it's going to be getting bigger. And interestingly, a bunch of different industries are responding to that. The VCs are moving into clean tech. Clean tech is bigger than semiconductors now as a place to invest. The insurance industry, as I mentioned earlier, is paying a great deal of attention to the changes which are going on in our system and making their investments appropriately. Walmart has taken over the mantle for making everybody sustainable, requiring sustainability plans from their 100,000 suppliers, or they won't buy from them anymore. So the question really is, do we want to bet against, when people that diverse, the venture capitalists, Walmart, the insurance industry are all going in the same direction, it begins to suggest something. And here's a man who got the story relatively early on, Ray Anderson. He was an entrepreneur. He was the head of Interface Carpet Company, which is the largest manufacturer of carpet tile in the United States, I believe in the world, actually. And he was doing just fine, making lots of money making carpet tiles, when he made the mistake of reading the book, The Ecology of Commerce. And he said it struck him like a spear in the chest. He realized that what he was doing was not actually good for the future or good for his grandchildren, and he decided that he was going to do something about it. And so he decided to take a very strong stand that he was going to take nothing from the earth that can't be replaced by the earth. And somehow, in this highly oil-intensive business, he was going to figure out how to move in that direction. He got surprising results. An 82% reduction in the air pollution coming out of his factories, a 66% reduction in the landfill, a 60% reduction in oil, 75% reduction in water use, and at the same time, he increased sales by 66% while doing those things and doubled his earnings. And so this is an example of someone who used the intelligence of his people to make all sorts of interesting changes. I'll give you an example. A very skeptical lady was visiting Interface, and she walked out into the corridors of the shop, and there was a guy wheeling along on a huge spool of yarn, going to the next process in carpet making. And she said, "This is all bullshit, isn't it? I mean, you don't really do the things which Ray Anderson claims you're doing." And he looked at her and he said, "Lady, I would love and stop here and talk to you about how coming to work every day to save the planet makes my life a very different thing than it would be otherwise. But I have to get this spool of yarn to the machine, otherwise the whole line will slow down, and the statistics which we're managing in this organization will not be as good as they would be otherwise. And so I'm going to have to move along. Sorry, I don't have time to talk to you." And she came back into the room and said, "Never have I seen a company in which the values of the employees and the values of management are so perfectly aligned." And of course, one of the fundamental things you do when you get people excited about sustainability in an organization is that you get them interested in reducing waste, because the most direct way that we can build a more sustainable business is to stop wasting things. And that's definitely in the interest of the old-fashioned bottom line as well as anything else. And it's unlikely that you're going to get the average worker to leap out of bed in the morning eager to get a 17% ROI for the stockholders of the company. But it is quite possible to get the average worker really excited about making the world a better place.
A question.
Yeah.
What are the contributing factors for increased sales? Why